This is a review of last night's MNBRT radio. It was a great show. The guest was supposed to be originally Robert W. Morgan, the legendary Robert W. Morgan. Um, but there were some miscommunications and some missed phone calls and things like that that occurred at the beginning. So Abe and I just kind of winged it a little bit. Uh, we did manage to get Jeffrey the Shadow on the show, and he actually has had his first sighting. He had his first sighting, and I mean that's a tremendous thing when you have your first encounter, your first sighting of a Sasquatch. And he finally had his first sighting this past weekend, and that's extremely exciting for anybody, I would imagine. And I was glad that he had his first sighting ever, and that was a great thing. I was very glad that he had a sighting. He went through and described his sighting. That when he first saw the Sasquatch, he thought it was his buddy. That seems to be pretty common. I know that Bob Strain, when he had his sighting, his first sighting, he initially thought it was his father, but then when he realized it wasn't his father that he was seeing, he just he he was pretty much perplexed by what he had seen. He was in disbelief. It's like, did I see a Sasquatch? And eventually, we did get Robert W. Morgan on the show. He talked about his research, his let's see, his sighting from 1957 in Mason County, Washington, which is fascinating every time he tells it. He did go into the traits of Sasquatch or the forest giants, saying that they are they are Homo hominidae or hominidae, not Homo ponjoids, because they have the buttocks, they have the helix of the big toe, they have the articulated speech, and other aspects. Um, and he also talked about the book. Well, he talked about the books he wrote, such as Soul Snatchers, which goes fully into some of his experiences, his Sasquatch research, and some of his other experiences that he's had in his life, and also the Bigfoot Observer's Field Manual, which he also discussed. But he also talked about a book he wrote called Citizen Spy, which highlighted some of his work with the CIA and the FBI, some of the things that occurred while he was part of that or of one of those organizations. I think the CIA, and he talked about how there was all kinds of intrigue and plotting and things like that that was going on behind the scenes that most people don't know about. It's all in his book, Gentleman, or excuse me, Citizen Spy. It's all in that book, uh, and it's fascinating stuff. He also talked about he also talked about well, he answered questions from he answered questions from various folks in the chat room. One question that I found was extremely fascinating, was about what a Tibetan monk or a Tibetan Lama had said the forest giants were, and Robert answered that the Tibetan Lama told him that the forest giants were the first people here. The first they were the first people, because Robert believes the forest giants to be people. They were the first giants to be here, the first people to be here. Um, that was what the Lama told Robert W. Morgan. So it was an extremely fascinating show. There were a couple of callers after the 9 o'clock hour. One of them was the author of Visits from the Forest People, Miss Julie Scott. And she asked Robert some interesting questions. And also, the other caller was Steve Jones, who was a longtime associate of Robert W. Morgan. Steve is an Ohio native, and Steve talked about the sighting that he had at Salt Fork State Park in 1992. He was working with Robert at the time, and they were at Salt Fork, and that's where he had his sighting. He had his sighting at Salt Fork State Park of a Sasquatch. And by the way, Steve also is 5 years cancer free. Congratulations, Steve! If you ever get to see this video, congratulations. I know it's a heck of a thing to try and beat cancer, and congratulations to you. Anyway, it was a terrific show. It was a great show. I really enjoyed it. 5 stars, Abe. I'm not sure what Abe has planned for next week or who the guest will be, but it will begin at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. www.blogtalkradio.com/MNBRT. And as always, do encourage you to please tune in and support great research.